The sound of children laughing drifted through the open windows of the veterinary clinic. Dr. Ben Hayes had his hands inside a farm animal's mouth, checking teeth that needed filing. The creature was calm, trusting him completely. Outside, the afternoon sun painted the frontier colony in shades of gold and orange. Then the ground shook. Ben stumbled backward as the whole building trembled. Equipment rattled on metal shelves. The animal he'd been treating bolted toward the back pens, spooked by whatever had just happened. Through the front window, he saw colonists running, pointing at the sky with expressions of terror. Something enormous landed in the clearing outside his clinic. Ben moved to the window and froze. A dragon stood there, easily the size of a cargo shuttle. Her scales looked like purple crystal, catching sunlight and throwing rainbow patterns across the dirt. But she wasn't attacking or threatening anyone. She was crying. Actual tears ran down her massive face as she cradled something against her chest with her front legs. Ben could see it was a smaller dragon, maybe the size of a large horse. The little one wasn't moving much. Its breathing looked wrong, too shallow and quick. The mother dragon's eyes met his through the window. Ben had treated thousands of animals in his career. He knew that look. Every species had it, from the smallest bird to the largest cattle. It was the look of a parent watching their child suffer, desperate for anyone who could help. Security vehicles screamed up the road, sirens wailing. Armed colonists jumped out, raising weapons at the dragon. She didn't move. She just held her child tighter and kept staring at Ben through that window. He didn't think. He just ran outside. "Don't shoot," Ben yelled, putting himself between the guns and the dragon. "She's not attacking anyone." "Dr. Hayes, get back inside," the security chief shouted. "That thing is dangerous." "That thing is a mother with a sick child," Ben shot back. He turned to face the dragon. Up close, she was even more massive. One swipe of her claws could tear him in half. But he didn't see a monster. He saw someone in pain. The dragon lowered her head. A small device around her neck glowed, and words came out in human language. The translation was rough, but clear enough. "Please, my child dies. Your healers, they fix impossible things. This is what others say. I fly 3 days. No sleep. Please." Ben's assistant Amy ran out of the clinic, her medical scanner in hand. She was young, barely 20, but she had good instincts. She started scanning the smaller dragon without being asked. "Ben, I'm getting weird readings," she said quietly. "Something's crystallizing in its body, like it's turning to stone from the inside." The mother dragon made a sound that didn't need translation. It was grief, pure and simple. "She ate poison minerals," the dragon said through her translator. "My Riven," she was exploring. "Found cave with pretty crystals. Ate them before I could stop." Dragon healers cannot help. They work with spirit energy. This is body poison. Physical poison. We have no medicine for this. Ben looked at the small dragon, at Riven. The little one's eyes were half closed, glazed with pain. Her breathing rattled in her chest. "How did you hear about human doctors?" Ben asked. "Stories travel between stars," the mother dragon said. "Stories of humans who cure the incurable, who refuse to accept death, who study body, not spirit. My people said I was foolish to hope, but hope is all I have left." The colony administrator arrived, a stern woman named Director Wells. She took one look at the situation and her face went hard. "Dr. Hayes, you cannot seriously be considering this. We have no idea about dragon biology. You can make things worse." Ben turned to face her. "I'm a veterinarian. An animal is dying in front of me. What do you expect me to do?" "That is not an animal. It's a sentient being from a species we barely understand." "Then I'll learn," Ben said simply. "Amy, help me get Riven into the equipment bay. It's the only space big enough." The mother dragon, who had been silent during this exchange, spoke again. Her voice through the translator was thick with emotion. "I'm called Sylith. I know what I ask is impossible, but humans do impossible things. This is what I heard. Please prove it true." Director Wells started to protest, but Ben was already moving. He helped Sylith carry Riven into the large bay where the clinic stored its bigger equipment. The young dragon barely fit, but they managed. Sylith settled next to her child. one wing draped protectively over Riven's body. She looked at Ben with eyes that held millennia of wisdom and the immediate terror of a parent about to lose everything. I don't know if I can help, Ben said honestly. I've never treated a dragon before. I don't know your biology or chemistry. I might fail, but you will try, Silith said. It wasn't a question. Yes, Ben answered. I'll try. Amy was already setting up equipment, moving with practiced efficiency. Outside, Ben could hear Director Wells arguing with security about quarantine protocols and potential dangers. Inside the bay, none of that mattered. There was only a dying child and the people who refused to let death win without a fight. Ben rolled up his sleeves and got to work. Ben's first attempt at scanning Riven failed completely. The medical scanner just showed static, unable to make sense of dragon biology. He tossed it aside and grabbed a basic thermal camera instead. At least that showed him where heat concentrated in the young dragon's body. Amy, hand me the chemical analyzer, he said, studying the thermal patterns. They were strange, showing two separate circulation systems running through Riven's body. Silith watched his every move with intense focus. Her eyes never left her child, but Ben could feel her attention on him as well. One wrong move, one sign of giving up, and he didn't know what would happen. Were those crystals? Ben asked, pointing to samples Silith had brought. They sat in a container, glowing faintly with inner light. From the cave where Riven fed, Silith explained. I brought them so healers could identify the poison. Ben carefully took one crystal and placed it under his analyzer. The readout made his heart sink. Rare earth compounds mixed with organic molecules he'd never seen before. The combination was toxic to almost any biological system. How long has she been sick? He asked. For days since she ate them. 2 days since she could not fly. 1 day since she stopped speaking. Ben did quick math in his head. Whatever this poison did, it worked slowly but thoroughly. That meant Riven's body was fighting it, which gave him time. Not much time, but something. Tell me about dragon bodies, Ben said. How are you different from earth animals? Silith seemed surprised by the question. You do not know our biology? Nobody does. Dragons keep to yourselves. We've had maybe a dozen conversations with your kind in the last 100 years. The massive dragon was quiet for a moment. Then she began to explain. Dragons had 2 systems in their bodies. One was blood, similar to most creatures. The other was something she called essence flow. It carried life, energy, will, and power throughout their bodies. Your medicine works on blood, Silith said. Our healers work on essence. Neither can cure this poison because it attacks both systems at once. Ben felt a spark of understanding. The thermal imaging showed 2 circulation patterns because there were literally 2 separate systems. The crystals Riven had eaten were breaking down and crystallizing in the essence channels, blocking the flow. It's like cholesterol blocking arteries, Amy said, looking at the scans. But instead of fat, it's these crystal fragments. Can we dissolve them? Ben wondered aloud. He spent the next 3 hours testing different compounds on samples of the poison crystals. Silith taught him how to sense essence flow by placing his hand near Riven's body. At first, he felt nothing. Then, slowly, he began to detect something like a warm current flowing beneath the young dragon's scales. When he found a chemical that dissolved the crystal samples, Ben felt a surge of hope. He carefully prepared an injection, calculating dosage based on Riven's estimated body weight and metabolism. This might work, he told Silith, but I need to inject it directly into the essence channels. You'll have to guide my hand. Silith's eyes showed fear and hope mixed together. She placed one massive claw gently over Ben's hand, guiding it to specific points on Riven's body where essence channels ran close to the surface. The injection went smoothly. For a few minutes, Riven's breathing seemed to improve. The young dragon's eyes flickered, almost opening. Then everything went wrong. Riven began to convulse. Her small body thrashed, and Silith roared in panic. The sound shook the building's walls. Energy crackled around the mother dragon's body, raw and uncontrolled. What's happening? Amy shouted over the noise. Ben checked his scanner and cursed. The poison was dissolving, yes, but breaking into smaller fragments. These pieces were more reactive than the original crystals. They were spreading faster, damaging tissue as they moved through Riven's system that he'd made things worse. Outside the bay, alarms blared. Security forces surrounded the building as lightning danced across Silith's scales. She wasn't attacking anyone, but her grief was manifesting as actual storms of energy. Ben ignored all of it. His mind raced through possibilities. He'd broken down the poison, but now he needed to get it out of Riven's body before the fragments did more damage. "We need to flush her system," Amy said suddenly. "Like dialysis for humans." Ben stared at her. "Dialysis filters blood through a machine. We need to filter essence, something that's basically life energy. That's impossible." "Everything's impossible until someone does it," Amy shot back, echoing Ben's own philosophy. Silith's roar quieted to a low rumble. She looked at Ben with eyes that demanded answers. "I made a mistake," Ben admitted. "The treatment broke down the poison, but created a new problem. Your daughter's essence channels are flooding with toxic fragments. Can you fix this mistake?" Silith asked. "Maybe. We could try to filter the essence itself, clean it outside her body, and pump it back in. But I've never done anything like that. If it fails, Riven dies instantly. And if you do nothing..." Ben looked at the monitors. Riven's vital signs were dropping steadily. "She dies slowly. Maybe 2 hours." Silith was quiet for a long moment. Then she straightened her long neck and looked directly into Ben's eyes. "You're trying when others would not try at all. This matters more than success or failure. Do what you must. I trust you." Ben felt the weight of those words. A mother putting her child's life in his hands, a human she'd met mere hours ago. He couldn't let her down. "Amy, start gathering every filter and pump we have. We're building something that's never existed before." As his assistant ran to gather equipment, Ben placed his hand on Riven's side. The young dragon's essence flow felt weak, fading. "Hold on," he whispered. "Just hold on a little longer." Amy dumped an armload of medical equipment onto the workbench. Tubes, filters, pumps, and monitoring devices cluttered the surface. Ben started connecting pieces together, his hands moving with desperate speed. "This is completely insane," Amy muttered, helping him assemble the contraption. "Probably," Ben agreed. "But insane is better than giving up." The device they built looked like something from a mad scientist's laboratory. Industrial filters meant for water purification connected to medical pumps. Clear tubing wound between components. Ben had to improvise connectors using spare parts and medical tape. Silith watched silently. Her earlier panic had cooled into focused intensity. She understood what Ben was attempting, even if she didn't understand the technology. "I need to connect this to Riven's essence channels," Ben explained. "Her life energy will flow through these tubes, get filtered clean, and return to her body. But if anything goes wrong with the flow rate or pressure, we could drain her essence completely." "She will die if you do nothing," Silith said simply. "This gives her a chance." Ben positioned the equipment next to Riven's still form. The young dragon's breathing had become irregular, sometimes stopping for several seconds before starting again. They were running out of time. With Silith's guidance, Ben located the major essence channels. He'd never done anything remotely like this. Inserting needles into pathways that carried pure life energy felt wrong on every level. But he steadied his hands and worked carefully. The first connection went in smoothly. Ben activated the pump, and glowing essence began flowing through the transparent tubes. It looked like liquid starlight, shifting colors as it moved. "It's beautiful," Amy whispered. Ben didn't answer. He was watching the filters. Already, dark fragments were separating from the glowing essence, crystallizing in the filtration chambers. The poison was coming out, but Riven was fading faster. The young dragon's essence flow weakened with each passing minute. Ben adjusted pump speeds, trying to find the right balance. Too fast, and he'd drain her completely. Too slow, and the poison would finish its work before the filtration completed. "She's dying," Silith said quietly. The mother dragon's voice held no accusation, just terrible understanding. Ben checked the monitors. Silith was right. Riven's essence was fading, losing the will to flow. The young dragon didn't have the strength to survive this procedure. We need to give her something to fight for, Amy said. When human patients are dying, sometimes they need a reason to hold on. Ben looked at his assistant. What do you mean? Talk to her. Let her know she's not alone. It seemed foolish. Riven was unconscious, maybe beyond hearing. But Ben had nothing else to try. He moved closer to the young dragon's head and began speaking. Riven, my name is Ben. I'm trying to help you. Your mother is here, right beside you. She flew 3 days without stopping to bring you to me. She believes in you. The essence flow didn't change. Ben kept talking anyway. I know you're tired. I know you want to rest. But you can't give up now. There's so much you haven't seen yet. So many places to fly, things to discover. Your mother needs you. Don't leave her alone. Amy started playing music from her personal device. Soft, gentle sounds filled the equipment bay. Human lullabies that mothers had sung to children for generations. Sylith joined in. She sang in the dragon language, sounds that were both musical and powerful. The translation device couldn't capture the meaning, but the emotion was clear. It was a song of love, of hope, of refusing to surrender. The combination of human and dragon voices filled the space. Ben continued talking, telling Riven about the colony, about the children who played outside, about the beauty of the world she lived in. Don't let this be the end of your story, he said. You have so much left to do. Something changed. The essence flow stuttered, then steadied. Riven's breathing deepened slightly. It wasn't much, but it was something. Keep singing, Ben told Sylith. Keep talking to her. He adjusted the filtration system, watching as more poison fragments separated out. The filters were getting clogged, but the essence flowing back into Riven was getting clearer, brighter. Hours passed. Ben's legs ached from standing. His eyes burned from lack of sleep. But he didn't stop. He kept talking to Riven, kept adjusting the equipment, kept fighting. Amy brought him water, which he drank without taking his eyes off the monitors. Sylith never moved, never stopped singing. Her voice was hoarse now, but she pushed through it. Outside, night had fallen. Through the windows, Ben could see colonists gathered at a distance, watching. Word had spread about what was happening. Some brought candles, creating a vigil in the darkness. The last of the poison fragments filtered out just as dawn light touched the horizon. Ben disconnected the system with shaking hands. Riven's essence channels were clear, flowing with bright, clean energy, but the young dragon still wasn't waking up. Come on, Ben whispered. You fought this hard. Don't quit now. Sylith leaned down, touching her nose to her child's head. She made a soft sound, something between a purr and a hum. Riven's eyes flickered. They opened slowly, unfocused at first. The young dragon looked confused, weak but aware. She saw her mother and made a small chirping sound. Sylith's roar of joy shook the entire building. But this time it wasn't grief or fear. It was pure, overwhelming happiness. Ben sat down hard on the floor, suddenly aware of how exhausted he was. Amy was crying, tears running down her face as she laughed. You did it, she said. You actually did it. Ben watched Riven nuzzle against her mother. The young dragon was weak, would need days to fully recover. But she was alive. Against every odd, against impossible circumstances, she was alive. Sometimes, refusing to give up was enough. News traveled fast across the galaxy. Within a week, every major species had heard the story of a human veterinarian who saved a dragon's life using medicine that shouldn't have worked. Ben didn't pay much attention to the news coverage. He was too busy monitoring Riven's recovery. The young dragon improved rapidly once the poison cleared from her system. Dragon healing abilities were remarkable when they actually had something to work with. Riven followed Ben everywhere around the clinic. She tried to help with his work, mostly knocking over equipment and getting tangled in tubes. But her enthusiasm was infectious. Patients who would normally be terrified of a dragon found themselves charmed by the clumsy youngster. She thinks you're her second parent, Amy observed, watching Riven attempt to bandage a farm animal's leg using her teeth. I just did my job, Ben said. You did a lot more than that. Sylith remained at the colony during her child's recovery. At first, colonists gave her a wide space. A full-grown dragon was intimidating, no matter how peaceful. But slowly, things changed and a farmer brought an injured animal to the clinic and asked if Scythe could look at it. The dragon was puzzled, but examined the creature carefully. She described symptoms Ben hadn't noticed, details about the animal's energy flow that his equipment couldn't detect. Together, they diagnosed a problem that would have taken Ben days to figure out alone. More colonists came. They brought questions about local wildlife, about plants that were making livestock sick, about strange behaviors in animals. Scythe answered what she could. She'd lived on this world for centuries and knew its ecosystems better than any human database. Your people don't get sick often, Ben observed one evening. He was documenting dragon physiology while Scythe rested nearby. Why is that? Our essence naturally heals most problems, Scythe explained. Broken bones, infections, even some poisons. Our bodies fix themselves if we give them time and energy, but not chemical poisoning. No, essence healing works on spirit and energy. It cannot touch pure physical toxins. For thousands of years, poison dragons simply died. We accepted this as natural fate. Ben looked up from his notes. Thousands of years. Yes, many young dragons died exploring, eating toxic things before learning better. We thought there was no solution. Scythe's eyes found Riven, who was curled up sleeping in the corner. I refused to accept that fate for my child. What made you think humans could help? Stories, Scythe said. We hear things. Humans who cure diseases thought incurable. Humans who refuse to accept death as inevitable. Your people are young, but you approach problems differently than ancient species do. How so? Old species like mine, we rely on what we've always known. Our power, our essence, our traditional ways. When those fail, we accept failure. Humans don't do that. You find new ways. You adapt. You refuse to stop trying. Ben considered this. We don't really have a choice. Humans aren't naturally powerful. We can't manipulate energy or heal ourselves with thought. We're fragile, short-lived, and weak compared to most galactic species. So we had to get creative. Weakness becoming strength, Scythe mused. Interesting philosophy. Over the following weeks, more dragons arrived. They came seeking treatment for problems that dragon healers couldn't solve. Old injuries that had healed wrong. Chronic conditions that essence work couldn't touch. Each case taught Ben something new about dragon biology, that he started keeping detailed records. Amy helped him organize the information into a comprehensive database. They were creating the first scientific guide to dragon physiology, something that had never existed before. Other humans arrived too. Doctors and researchers who wanted to study this new field. Director Wells, initially opposed to the whole situation, recognized an opportunity. The colony was becoming a center for xenobiological research. We need to expand the clinic, she told Ben during one of her visits. This is too important to keep small. Ben looked around his modest facility. It was crowded now, filled with equipment and beings from multiple species. I'm a simple vet. I don't know anything about running a research center. Then learn, Wells said with a slight smile. You learn dragon medicine in a week. How hard can administration be? Riven recovered fully within a month. The young dragon was energetic, curious, and completely fascinated by human technology. She watched everything Ben did with intense focus. I want to learn healing, Riven announced one day, using a small translator device Scythe had given her. You want to be a doctor? Ben asked. I want to help others like you help me. Dragon healing is good, but it's not enough. I want to learn both ways. Your way and my way. Ben looked at Scythe, who nodded approvingly. She has chosen her path. Will you teach her? Teaching a dragon medicine was something Ben had never imagined doing, but he'd stopped being surprised by impossible things. If she's willing to work hard, then yes. Riven's enthusiasm was overwhelming. She studied constantly, learning anatomy and chemistry alongside essence work. She was clumsy with delicate instruments, but her ability to sense essence flow gave her insights Ben could never match. They made a good team. One evening, Ben found Scythe standing outside the clinic, looking at the stars. Thinking about home, he asked. Thinking about change, Scythe replied. For millennia, Dragons believed we had reached the peak of knowledge. We are ancient, powerful, wise. What could younger species teach us? She looked at Ben. You taught me that different species see different parts of truth. Dragons see essence and spirit. Humans see chemistry and biology. Alone, each view is incomplete. Together, we see more, Ben said. Yes, together we see life itself. News reached them that other species were watching what happened at New Meridian Colony. They saw dragons and humans working side by side, learning from each other. Some were skeptical. Some were interested. All of them were paying attention. Change was coming to the galaxy, and it started with a mother's desperate plea and a veterinarian who refused to give up. 3 months after Riven's treatment, Ben's small clinic had transformed into something he barely recognized. The original building was still there, but new structures surrounded it. Labs, treatment rooms, and housing for visiting researchers from a dozen species. Dragon medical professionals worked alongside humans. They shared knowledge freely, teaching each other their different approaches to healing. What emerged was something neither group could have created alone. Ben walked through the main treatment area, observing a human doctor working with a dragon healer on a complicated case. The patient was a species he didn't recognize, suffering from a condition that crossed traditional boundaries between physical and energy-based medicine. The essence channels are blocked, the dragon healer said, sensing energy flows the human couldn't detect. But the blockage is chemical in nature, the human doctor added, reading scanner results. We need to dissolve it physically and then restore energy flow. They worked together seamlessly, combining approaches. The patient improved within hours. Riven had become Ben's full-time apprentice. The young dragon learned quickly, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. She was particularly good at working with frightened patients. Something about her gentle nature put other creatures at ease. You're a natural healer, Ben told her after she successfully calmed a panicking alien long enough for treatment. I remember being scared and sick, Riven said. I remember you talking to me, helping me feel less alone. That's what healing is, right? Not just fixing bodies, but helping people feel safe. Ben smiled. Sometimes the student taught the teacher that a commotion at the entrance caught his attention. Amy was escorting a group of elderly dragons into the facility. They moved with careful dignity, their scales dulled with age, but their eyes sharp and aware. Syleth met them formally, bowing her head in respect. Elders of the Eternal Flight, welcome. The lead dragon was massive, even larger than Syleth. His scales were deep blue, almost black. When he spoke, his voice resonated with authority. I am called Thorn. We have come to meet the human who saved young Riven's life. Ben approached, very aware that he was probably the smallest being in the room. I'm Dr. Ben Hayes. Thank you for visiting. Thorn studied him with ancient eyes. You have done something remarkable, human. Not just saving one life, but showing our people that solutions exist where we saw only inevitable fate. I just applied medicine to a medical problem, Ben said. You did much more. You proved that different species working together can achieve what neither can do alone. Thorn gestured to another dragon, who stepped forward carrying something wrapped in cloth. The cloth fell away, revealing a crystal the size of Ben's head. It glowed with soft, pulsing light. This is an essence amplifier, Thorn explained. An ancient artifact of our people. With it, humans can learn to sense and work with essence as we do. We gift this to your facility so that your people may learn our ways as we learn yours. Ben took the crystal carefully. Even through his hands, he could feel warmth radiating from it. This is an incredible gift. It is an investment in the future, Thorn said. We offer more than this crystal. We offer partnership. Dragons will share our millennia of knowledge if humans share their scientific methods and their philosophy of never accepting the impossible. Why now? Ben asked. Humans and dragons have existed in the same galaxy for decades. Why didn't this happen before? Thorn looked at Riven, who was helping Amy organize medical supplies. Because we were proud. We thought our ancient ways were superior, that younger species had nothing to teach us. Then a mother's love drove Syleth to seek help from those we dismissed. You didn't dismiss her in return. You helped, despite having every reason to refuse. Every life matters, Ben said simply. That's not a human philosophy. That's just basic decency. Perhaps. But you acted on that belief when others would not. That action changed everything. The elders stayed for several days, observing the clinic's work. They saw humans and dragons collaborating, saw patients from multiple species receiving care that blended different medical traditions. They watched Riven learning human medicine while teaching humans about essence work. On their final day, Thorne addressed the entire facility. What happens here will spread across the galaxy, he announced. Other species are watching. They see that cooperation produces better results than isolation. Some will resist this change. They prefer familiar ways, even when those ways are limited. But change comes regardless. He turned to Ben. You have our people's gratitude and our commitment. Dragons will support this facility and others like it. We will teach any who wish to learn. After the elders left, Ben found Silith on the clinic's roof, looking at the sunset. Your people's elders are impressive, Ben said, joining her. They are also stubborn and slow to change, Silith replied. But they recognize truth when it saves a child's life. That matters more than pride. Riven is thriving, Ben observed. She'll be an amazing healer, because you showed her that healing is about compassion, not just knowledge or power. Silith was quiet for a moment. I came to you in desperation, expecting nothing. You gave me everything. You gave me something too, Ben said. You showed me that the barriers between species are smaller than we think. That at our core, we all want the same things. Safety for our children, health for our loved ones, hope for the future. Simple things, Silith agreed, but important. Below them, the clinic bustled with activity. Humans, dragons, and other species worked together. Children played in the courtyard, some human, some dragon, some neither. They didn't care about species differences. They just cared about playing together. The galaxy is changing, Silas said. For the better, Ben added. They watched the sunset together in comfortable silence. Two beings from different worlds who had found common ground in the simple act of caring. The first snow of winter fell gently on New Meridian Colony. Ben stood in the main treatment room of what was now called the Interspecies Medical Center, watching the white flakes drift past the windows. The room had changed dramatically from his simple veterinary clinic. Advanced equipment from multiple civilizations lined the walls, but the heart of it remained the same. It was a place for healing. Riven was treating a young colony child who'd broken her arm falling from a tree. The dragon worked carefully, her large claws surprisingly gentle as she positioned the medical scanner. Does it hurt? Riven asked softly. The child shook her head, watching the dragon with wonder rather than fear. You're really careful. I know what it's like to be hurt and scared, Riven said. I want to make it better. The child's mother watched with a smile. A year ago, she would have panicked at the sight of a dragon near her daughter. Now, it was normal, just another day at the medical center. Amy approached Ben with a data pad. We've got 3 more requests for partnership programs. Universities from different sectors want to send students here to learn combined medical techniques. How many does that make total? Ben asked. 27 active programs, 15 more pending approval. Amy shook her head in amazement. Ben, we're training the next generation of xenomedicine professionals. This is bigger than either of us imagined. Ben thought back to that day when Silith had landed outside his small clinic, desperate and afraid. He just wanted to help one patient. Now that single act had grown into something that touched multiple worlds. That a chime announced new arrivals. Ben looked up to see a delegation of beings he didn't recognize. They were tall, thin, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. Director Wells escorted them inside. Dr. Hayes, these representatives are from the Meridian Collective. They've traveled quite far to speak with you. The lead alien spoke through a translator. We heard stories of what you've accomplished here. Species working together, sharing knowledge freely. Our people have a medical crisis that our own doctors cannot solve. We hope you might help, or teach us how to help ourselves. Ben gestured to the treatment areas. We help anyone who needs it. That's what we do here. The alien's expression was hard to read, but the translator conveyed emotion clearly. Other species would charge enormous fees for such expertise. Why do you offer it freely? Because healing shouldn't be a privilege, Ben said. Knowledge saves lives. Hoarding it only leads to unnecessary death. The alien was silent for a moment, processing this. Your species is unusual. Most hoard advantages over others. Humans learned something important a long time ago, Ben explained. When we lift others up, we all rise together. When we share knowledge, everyone benefits. It's not charity, it's common sense. Riven finished treating the child and bounded over, full of youthful energy. Did you need medical help? I'm still learning, but I can assist. The alien stared at the young dragon. You are one of the ancient ones, yet you work with these young humans as equals. They're my teachers, Riven said proudly. I'm learning to blend dragon healing with human medicine. It's amazing what we can do together. One of the aliens turned to their companions. Perhaps the stories were true after all. Sylith entered through the large bay doors, snow dusting her purple scales. She'd been teaching a class on essence theory to human medical students. She nodded to the alien delegation politely before approaching Ben. More visitors seeking answers, she observed. Word spreads, Ben said. Good. The galaxy needs more places like this. More beings willing to learn from each other. Sylith looked around the bustling center. Do you remember what I told you months ago? About humans refusing to accept the impossible. I remember. You proved it true. You took an impossible situation and made it possible through stubbornness, creativity, and compassion. Very human traits. Ben left. I don't feel particularly special. I just did what needed doing. That is what makes it special, Sylith said. You don't seek glory or recognition. You simply help because helping matters. The alien delegation agreed to stay and observe the center's work. Within days, they were asking questions, learning techniques, and sharing their own medical knowledge. The cycle continued, growing stronger. Weeks passed. The medical center expanded again. Ben trained new doctors who went out to establish similar facilities on other worlds. The concept spread like seeds on the wind, taking root wherever beings were willing to learn from each other. One quiet evening, Ben found himself back in the original clinic building. It was mostly storage now, but he'd kept his old examination table. Riven found him there, looking at the simple equipment he'd started with. Feeling nostalgic? The young dragon asked. Just remembering, Ben said. This table is where I first examined you. You were so sick, and I had no idea if I could help. But you tried anyway, Riven said. That's what you taught me. Trying matters, even when success isn't guaranteed. You've become an excellent healer, Riven. Better than I expected. I had a good teacher. Riven settled next to him. The other day, a patient asked me what species I was. When I said dragon, they were surprised. They said I acted more like a human. What did you tell them? I said I'm dragon, but I learned from humans that compassion isn't limited by species. That helping others is something anyone can choose. Riven looked at Ben with bright eyes. I also told them that the best parts of being alive are the parts we share across all species. Love, hope, the desire to ease suffering. Ben felt a swell of pride. You understand what really matters. Outside, snow continued falling. Colony children played with young dragons, their laughter carrying through the cold air. Inside the medical center, beings from a dozen different worlds worked together, learning from each other. Sylith had been right. The galaxy was changing, not through conquest or force, but through simple acts of compassion repeated over and over until they transformed everything. Ben looked at his old examination table one last time, then turned toward the future. There was still work to do, lives to save, knowledge to share. The weeping dragon mother who'd brought her dying child had sparked something that would echo across the stars. And it all started because one human refused to turn away from someone in need.